Good afternoon, good evening, actually, everyone. I'm Sugandhima from University of Rome, Sri Lanka, and I would like to present about mainly the enhancing security and also privacy for Omics data using advanced technologies like blockchain technology and smart contracts too. And last time I joined APAN57 as a fellow, and this time also I am an AP Gain fellow to attend this meeting. And I am currently serving as the head of the department in computer science, University of Ruhuna, and also I'm a senior lecturer as well. And here actually, this is kind of a BOF session, but we plan to expand this with many members. Currently, we have some computational biologists, Dr. Pomalika, and also Ms. I.N. Madhushani. She's expertise in blockchain technologies, and she's a MPhil student as well. Actually, I would like to invite two of you, Dr. Damayanti and also Dr. Krish, right? Trish, yeah, for this because I think their research and developments also align with this as well. And if it comes to omics technologies, it is kind of a vast area and vast data sets we have. Mainly we can say there are four main technologies: genetics, proteomics, transcriptomics, and metabolomics. And when we look into genomics, it can be kind of gene sequences, gene ontologies, or gene expressions, any sort of such data, right? And if it comes to proteomics, it can be either structural data, sequence data. If it comes to structural data, it can be primary structure, secondary, tertiary, or quaternary. Different types of, different levels of data we have. It's kind of multidimensional data. And transcriptomics is all about RNA data. It can be messenger RNA, tRNA, microRNA. There are several types of such RNA data. So they all together we call transcriptomic data. And if it comes to metabolomics, it's about short molecules, small molecules, and we study about them as well. And there are a lot of such data as well in the repositories out there. So not only that, we have many other types of omics data. We can also think about interactomics as well. It consists of RNA-DNA interactions, RNA-RNA interactions, DNA-protein interactions, as well as RNA-protein interactions, protein-protein interactions as well. So the dimensionality as well as complexity is high compared to the other data sets. Normal data sets we have, just like clinical data or other data we generated in day-to-day life, maybe from other systems, banking systems, other systems we every day use. This is kind of different types of data we have. We encode them differently. So if it comes to sequence data, we encode in one way. If it comes to structural data, we encode it in a different way. If we think about interaction data, we have to encode it in another way. So they are multidimensional. They have high dimension, different levels of data, as well as they are complex, right? That is the main idea. So because of that, you can see here, here also you can see disease, gene expression, and drug-related networks you can see here, right? That is kind of a different set of network, but we can extend these connections with other sort of diseases, drugs for drug discovery or disease prediction, kind of. So we actually currently not focusing to that level, but we try to start our group with main omics data sets as a beginning. So, yeah, I think you understand why it is sensitive. Actually, gene data, it's called DNA data. If there's a crime, sometimes we need gene data or DNAs to identify who is the victim, kind of. So in that case, it is kind of a unique data. DNA is unique, right? And also it's immutable. We can't change DNA of some person, some living being, right? It's okay. This one? Oh, this one. Switch off. No, it's okay. Right. Okay, sorry about that. I think why we need to protect this data, you understand. You understand why it is needed. Because it is so sensitive, because it is unique. If someone steals, or if someone hacks this data, it's a kind of theft. It's actually kind of a sensitive thing, personal thing, privacy-related thing, right? So I think it will impact the individual as well as their families sometimes due to that sort of theft. So we should protect this data, this sort of data. So the relevance is, even though we have clinical data, we also use omics data for some sort of predictions. That means disease prediction kind of things, right? In medicine, precision medicine, I think you know more than me if you are a doctor, medical doctor, or some health professional, right? So, and also, I think there are security professionals here as well. So they also know what it means about the privacy and security concerns with sensitive data. So I think you can see this. So there were some initiatives in past, in 2021 also. And this is kind of special communication. So this is regarding analysis of security and privacy challenges or DNA genomics applications and databases exist. But time to time, within 1 year, the databases, they get doubled. That means it's kind of, I think the statistics of if you go to NCBI or UniProt kind of databases, they have a lot of data to be analyzed. there is a redundancy as well, but they are to be analyzed. There's a redundancy also, right? We have to find the unique set of data and move forward for the further analysis. So, what is the importance of this omics data security? So actually, first thing is, as I already mentioned, it can be an identity theft or gene theft or DNA theft if it is going to steal by someone. So, and for example, some employee may discriminate some by the employer, right? Due to this, actually, genetic mutations of some individual, right? If there's, because if it is stolen, if the data is stolen, it is leaked. In that case, that person, that individual is in kind of, it's not in a good situation, it's a privacy leak, right? So it will finally end up with genetic discrimination as well. So it's mentally not good. So it can be a genetic disorder, but finally it's end up with some other things as well. It's kind of an example in the employment. So there may be other examples as well. So in the society, there are such things. So it is due to the misuse of data, genetic identity theft or gene theft or DNA theft. So that's why we need privacy and security measurements to protect this data. So the impact, actually, I think that means you understand we want to share data when we do some research also, when we, actually, we are sharing this data in repositories always. So while we sharing this data, we have to verify their actually security also, as well as privacy, both, right? Not only that, we keep those data and process data in the cloud infrastructure or somewhere like that. So in that case, we have to protect them. So otherwise, someone will take them, access them, hack them, and misuse them, modify them as well, right? So the final impact is actually our intention is to form advanced technologies like both blockchain as well as smart contracts for protecting this data and make them data more actually in privacy centered. I mean, privacy management should be done with smart contracts to gain consent from the users of the system. That means if you access for a clinical database or genome, some sort of such database, to do a research or to do something, some analysis, some processing, every time when they access, we have to do the main security things as well. That means not only the consent, that is, the consent is in the side of the patient side, right? But from the other side, we have to have the security measurements. That is kind of a privacy management. So we need to have both security and privacy in this case. So I think you understand the challenges of omics data. The one thing is its complexity, right? It's not in one form, and it's not only one type of data. Gene data is in one form, proteomics data in another form, and also there are several levels, high dimensionality data, huge amount of data they generate each year. It gets doubles each year. So immutability is the other thing that leads to sensitivity of the data that is unique, right? And the next thing is current measurements like AES, DES, 3DES, kind of there are some standard encryption algorithms and access control measurements. So they are sometimes inefficient to handle these data. So that's why we want a robust solution with smart contracts and blockchain technologies, as well as some ethical standards. We have to form ethical standards like there are existing standards in the world. In UK, we have GDPR. In US, we have HIPAA. So for this region, we don't have any Asia-Pacific region, and some other regions, they may have some internal ones, but not some standard acts or policies or regulations. So that is needed to protect these data. So because of that, our main objective is to secure omic data while enabling and enhancing our research and developments. So that is the main objective. So under that, we have this sort of objectives like developing some robust encryption methods because there are existing methods. They are actually having some sort of limitations, like they are they can be attacked. So in blockchain also there are type of attacks. Because of that, we also work on blockchain security. So we develop some methods to prevent those attacks. And we also have some ways of detecting attacks. And here we want to develop robust encryption methods. And we can also use actually secure data sharing platforms. There are existing ones, and we can also improve them as well. And yeah, as I already told you, we can utilize blockchain for transparency. You know what is blockchain. I'll go to that slide as well. Transparency means in a blockchain environment, we have several nodes get connected, and we can't continue changing at least one data without the consent of the other people in the network. That makes that transparent. So the final thing is, as I already told you, we want to come up with some sort of standard, some sort of regulation, some sort of act at the end, like GDPR or HIPAA. So that is our final target in this group, right? And the target audience is a wide audience. It's not only limited to researchers, not only limited to academia, and there can be many stakeholders, many users, many people get involved in this. Biomedical scientists, maybe they are bioinformaticians, maybe they are, and also healthcare and clinical professionals, maybe in the group, right? And also because they can get benefit from the group, and also students, definitely, they learn about this, and also software developers and other IT specialists, maybe they are and ethical and legal experts. That is our final target. We have existing things. Actually, I have done a research on telemedicine security, because we don't have such standards in our country. We have used this HIPAA standard, and we refer to that, but we modify those requirements based on our Sri Lankan context. And we have done some survey, and finally we analyze some sort of data set, but it is not fully it is not a standard yet. It's kind of self-assessment mechanism we developed to use telemedicine systems that exist in Sri Lanka. So it is something else. It's not for omics data. But normally we can combine both. In the analysis, we don't only take omics data. We sometimes take omics plus clinical data as well. For the analysis, we can't separate those two, right? Even in AI, we use both data for the analysis. So we have conducted such research as well. It used clinical plus omics data, both. So, and the other purpose is disseminate. We have to disseminate, and we have to educate people regarding this sort of privacy and security needs when they use some sort of systems, when they give data to, when they are as a patient, they may provide their data to analyze in some cases, in some occasions. In that case, they should know there should be some consent that should be requested by that hospital or that organization. So that is not done in many places. Otherwise, it's kind of privacy concern. It is a privacy concern. Without the consent, they can't use actually such sort of sensitive data, if it is DNA or other kind of omics data. So the last thing actually here, as I already told, this is about the target audience, and as I already told you, we have to come up with some sort of standard. So actually, this is about some existing techniques, privacy preserving techniques. So we can do some noise addition to do privacy preserving. So for the data set, we can normally add some noise to hide real data. And also, we can do this data and anonymization for removing that sensitivity. Who is the person? They can't recognize if we add this data anonymization, right? In that case, it removes the identity of the individual. So then they can't identify who is the owner of this data. So the last one is, there are existing business collaborative tools for the collaboration to actually protect the data. We can use these type of tools while we are sharing data among different places. Actually, for the research purpose or development purpose, we do this thing. But while sharing, while we are using collaborative tools, we have to use some sort of secure tools. There are some commercialized tools. They are more secure, actually, than third-party tools. So we should know about this as well when we are using, when we are sharing data. And this is some introduction to blockchains. I was talking about blockchains, but you may not know what it is. So actually, it is simply a database, but it's not a rational or traditional database. It's a bit different. It is kind of decentralized, distributed, and immutable ledger. We can say Simply, it is distributed, decentralized, as well as we have immutable data in this ledger. So the other thing is it is transparent to each node. Node is kind of a workstation or kind of user in the network, right? And the data is transparent because if you want to do any change to the data, everyone should know that we should get the consent of everyone. Everyone should know that it has been changed. So it is there, right? And in smart contracts, these are sometimes new to you, but I think there are IT professionals as well, they know. Actually, to get the consent of the people who give the data, who provide the data, we can use self-executing automated contracts, or actually we call this smart contracts. It's kind of an agreement built on blockchains. It's executing automatically to get the consent of the user. So, and also, there may be applications, one application of this is managing patient consent while we taking the records from the patient. So that is one of the applications. Here you can see recent developments. So this is another type of research using blockchain for storing and analyzing a genome on a blockchain. So it has already been done by one person for using one sort of solution, one sort of actually application. But as I already told you, this is how the genetic data in GenBank grows over time, right? It doubles each year. So that is why it is hard to manage, right? We have to store them. The data is high dimensional and also complex. And this is one sort of data, only genome data. So we have several other sort of. Right? In genomics data also, we have gene data, gene ontology data, gene expression data, several. So, but the encryption mechanism for gene data may be one type, but for gene ontology, it is different. For gene sequence, it is different from the gene, the way of storing gene ontologies is different from the way of storing gene sequence, and protein structure storing method is different from the protein sequence storing method, and encryption methods are also can be changed. So that is the thing, that is the complexity. That is because we have high dimension, and also huge amount of data, complex data. That's the thing. So there are existing standards, as I already told you, AES, DES, TDES, they are existing techniques, and also zero trust architecture is also available. And we can also do some key management here by secure generation, storing, and using of encryption keys. And finally, it will enhances data confidentiality as well as integrity. But we are talking about some advancement of this, not only data encryption, basic data encryption here. And also we are talking about consent management as well as come up with some sort of ethical regulation or act for mainly Asia Pacific region. So I think it will lead to some collaborations between bioinformatics people, IT expert, academics, research people, some IT specialists. That is kind of collaboration at the end, right? And also, here we have to have some dynamic consent management. So for that, we use blockchain and smart contracts. And finally, I think, we have to store, analyze, and process data securely, and we have to keep sensitive data in a better way with privacy management, right? That is the main target. So I already told you existing standards. Here you can see some of them, and they are kind of popular standards over the world, international standards. We can also use them, but we have to modify the system, modify the acts based on our context. Maybe for one country, Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, or kind of Asia Pacific region, we have to have some sort of act for this. So it also, it's telling the same about transparency. There are challenges as well. I think the cost for the implementation of these kind of blockchain and smart contracts, it's kind of $5,000, at least $5,000. It depends on the requirements, network requirements, and infrastructure and all. And also, we can deploy this on the cloud, or we can also, on-premises deployment can be done. We can do that thing as well. So there are constraints in the resources in our side. But we can start by finding fundings. In the future, we have to write for grants if we move forward. They are the challenges we have. We have some solutions for them as well, but I think sometimes it's hard to find grants and sponsorships. Collaborations we can find out, but the thing is finding grant is hard, and deployment, maintenance, that cost is also high. It's also a challenge, and we have to find out solutions for that actually we have to have some team to manage, or some set of people to manage them. And there are some use cases I can show you. One example, actually, this is a common general example. Secure genomic data sharing for a rare disease study. Actually, in this sort of a situation, they use some sort of encryption for data protection, and also they can use some sort of blockchain for consent tracking, and they can also use some secure collaboration tools for multi-center research, because we share the data among different places. Because of that, we need some good tools for sharing the data, for collaborating or sharing the data. I think you know about collaboration tools like GitHub, right? So we have to find out similar secure collaborative tools. This is another another case study. This is about genomic data security. Have you heard of 1000 Genomics project? It was somewhat old, but it was very popular. And where also their requirement was, and they need some security. So they have used end-to-end encryption and some sort of strict access control mechanism for providing security for the data. And also, they want this, they want to protect each individual from gene theft, DNA theft, and they want to ensure that they are following some sort of HIPAA or GDPR kind of act. So when we do this sort of a thing, when we implement this sort of actually some, if you analyze data or if you develop some system to protect, in that case you have to think about that sort of an act. So we don't have any in Sri Lanka yet. And I think in Asian Pacific region, we also don't have for the region. This is another case study for proteomics data security in terms of that security. So for example, you may have heard of Human Protein Atlas database, and that stores vast amount of experimental data in cloud storage. So the main requirement there is to secure cloud storage with encryption in transit and encryption at rest. When we share the data, we have to encrypt, and also when we store the data, we have to encrypt. So both, we have to consider both situations. And in this case, while after doing this, we can ensure confidentiality of proprietary research, as well as preventing tampering with critical biological insights. So that is for proteomics data security. This is kind of example or case study for metabolomics data security. So I think you have heard of metabolomics data, I don't know. So it's kind of small molecules data. So that is not that much popular like genomics or proteomics, but there are such data, molecule data, small molecule data. So here we also can use some sort of blockchain-based data integrity checks and time stamping. I think this is the research paper that actually used that sort of blockchain-based data integrity checks. So this is one case study. So we can use such sort of security and privacy preserving mechanisms to metabolomics data security, to improve metabolomic data security. So in terms of transcriptomics data security, we can have some data like RNA sequence data. And yeah, you can see the research paper under, actually, this is the link. At the bottom, you can see it. So they have used some sort of different method. They have used some sort of distributed machine learning solution for this. So it is kind of privacy preserving federated learning framework for securing RNA sequence data. So I think here what they wanted is they want to secure multi-party data analysis without direct data sharing, as well as protecting patient privacy, both. So this is another sort of, yeah, you can see it is also a research. And yeah, I included this part because we can't independently work with omics data. Sometimes we have to deal with clinical data of patients as well with the omics data. So in order to provide insights, in order to provide diagnosis to the patient, So in that case, we need clinical data and its security as well. If you want, you can go through this, but it is not directly relevant here. We actually concern about only the omics data security, but with that, along with that, we need clinical data security measurements, privacy measurements as well. So, yeah. So I think this would be the benefits of this sort of group. Yeah, definitely it will provide data security. It will enhance current security measurements of data, because we want to provide some sort of solutions as well. Actually, we have conducted one research based on blockchain security, and we provided a sort of technique to prevent blockchain, one sort of blockchain attack called selfish mining attack. There are many sort of attacks in blockchains, but we have only methods of detecting the attacks, not the preventing attacks. So in that case, we have some gaps in preventing attacks. The probability is less. Blockchains are secure. Generally, it's secure, right? You know, you may use cryptocurrencies, Bitcoins, Ethereum kind of. In that case, they are secure, but we can have some gaps. We have some gaps still. So that's why we talk about blockchain security, but it is not about blockchain security here. It's about omics data security and privacy, both. And yeah, as I already mentioned, we need some collaborative efforts. We can improve the collaborative efforts by doing this, because in Sri Lanka, we don't have much omics data. There are few places we can find them. And also in other countries in Asian region, I think they have some. So in the public databases, we have some. So we can deal with them as an initiative for the next meeting if we become as a group. So I think that will enhance us collaborative research in the future. And also, if we get together, we can come up with some sort of ethical act by looking at few, not only few actually, we have to look at many case studies in different countries if we come up with an act for the whole region. So we should consider different types of omics data in different countries and come up with that. It's difficult. It will take a long time. But we can at least analyze one by one as case studies. And finally, actually, though we develop some sort of such acts, we have to concern about existing standards as well. We have to comply our things with them as well. If there is a modification, we can also use, but mostly they have some sort of standards. We can first look at them, and then we can define ours. So that is the idea. I think you got the idea, and I think you have some questions as well. Yeah. Yeah, we need some good feedback, because we don't know whether the topic is okay also. This is kind of BOF session. We need feedback from the audience. Thank you for coming here at least and listening me. And I need your feedback as well, because you have come from different regions. I think we need your suggestions to improve. Thank you very much.
Just a couple of questions. How does this align? Does this align with GA4GH? Okay. How would you actually implement the blockchain system that you're talking about?
Yeah, actually, for one research, we have simulated because we don't have the lab to implement that with the current data. We have simulated, we done simulations, and we actually get the results from the simulations currently because we have to have a good infrastructure as well as funding to deploy it. We received some invitation from foreign place, but we couldn't continue with that yet.
There's kind of two major archives that we're working with, or archiving systems. One's Gen 3 out of the US, and the other one is EGA, so the European Genome Archive. Are they looking at any of these sort of activities as a way of actually protecting human data at all? Are they looking at something like this to protect human data?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, protecting, that means in terms of security, both in terms of security, mainly privacy because we are dealing with sensitive data. And also we would like to come up with some sort of such act like HIPAA in US because we don't have any.
Thank you. Yeah, this isn't my field, omics, obviously, but I've got a couple of questions as well. It seems like a really big topic and a lot of challenges that will come out of this. And so there would be like a process, as you say, some standards, an act, something that the region could follow around sensitive data issues, but specifically, you know, for omics data, and then looking at actual solutions like using blockchain or any other kind of solution. So I guess from like thinking globally, it would make sense that you are in conversation with what's happening elsewhere in the world so that the research data becomes available with the right security and access, of course, so that doesn't become a problem when research is shared down the track. So I see, you know, from a Research Data Alliance perspective, this would be like an interest group with lots of working groups working on different topics. Does it work the same with APAN in terms?
We can have subgroups. That's why I invited you as well. You also working with some sort of omics and other data as well. So you can be a subgroup under this, and there may be other different sort of privacy, security type of groups for the same data types.
Yeah. Have you seen anything globally similar to this kind of working group that you're looking to propose here for this region?
Yeah, I think here there is a group, open data group, right? Yeah, you were there in the group, right? Last year I was there as well. Actually, where it was not specific to this type of data, that's why I just had this decision to form a kind of BOF to this type of data.
Yeah, I think it's a really great opportunity, actually. It's very, very niche. And I think if it doesn't exist in the world, it would be worth pitching this BOF globally and then perhaps having a regional like offshoot from that. So you're all working together, but you have an APAC, you know, regional like subgroup or something like that. But it's a really great like overview of what the challenge is, and this specifically what, you know, these working groups are all about.
It's very hard to actually overcome. the challenges we have, because it's really dealing with funding and all, infrastructure development and all. So we have to maintain them as well. After developing, we can't actually get rid of that. So that is there. Uh, that is a big concern as well.
Yeah, and you're really looking ahead into the funding model and how to run this, but even early on, just having the sensitive data standards in place.
Yeah, that is the
that's
first
common.
thing to do. That is the first thing. We can simply start developing that. That is the very first thing to do. Then gradually we can work on the other things as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity.
Okay, I am not directly from this field, data, so but I work in the AI field. So I also feel that this is very important, that AI is all about data. So there is also a lot of conversation related to that data privacy, copyright, and all, because who owns the data? And actually, when it comes about business, actually, for example, even OpenAI is using a lot of open data, but that doesn't copyright to them. So there
Ethical
are
considerations
yeah.
are there.
So there are a lot of issues are there. So I believe that this is a very important discussion we should have in this domain, in APAN domain. And of course, it's not only the medical data. I think it's also related to some other data
Yeah,
also.
all the
So
sensitive
yeah,
data we
all the
can
sensitive
consider.
data. So it is a very concerning and broad topics, but we need to really focus on these things.
Yeah, actually we have to start at some point and we can extend.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question. So when you said that you have you did the simulation, right?
Yeah.
So like, what did you use or how
Actually, we use Python
okay.
programming language. Actually, we have
Web3?
simulated
Yeah.
blockchain data,
Ah,
transaction data, I mean.
okay. So
Yeah.
how many users were there for blockchain users?
There are a few actually. It was about selfish mining attacks. So you may not know, it's about blockchain attacks.
Yeah,
some sort
yeah,
of.
I understand.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. You
Okay.
mean in the mining pool, there are how many users?
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
have very few in that case
Ah,
because it's kind of a beginning.
okay.
Yeah, but we have published that in high impact journal.
Journal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, the thing is, I am also working in blockchain, but
Uh-huh,
I'm like
uh-huh.
not working. I'm trying to work.
Working.
But the thing is, I'm facing difficulties.
Yeah, of
So that's
course.
why in technical side.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why I'm saying that how many users or in what level you have
Yeah,
implemented
we
it.
have actually simulated for less number of users initially. We can
Okay, okay.
extend that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And how would you like for did you use like a smart contract for
Yet for that we didn't use.
you didn't
Yeah,
use?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for that as well.
Hi, so my name is Shankar. So I have a few comments and
Okay.
also questions, I guess. So the BOF is titled Omics Data Security, which is quite specific.
Yeah.
Although Omics data, I mean, what you presented is you're trying to address a lot of things.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
example,
correct.
For example, you tried to actually say blockchain. Then you spoke about infrastructure. The thing
Yeah.
is, the way that I see APAN working groups, we have the network engineering guys,
Yeah.
which probably could assist in terms of the infrastructure,
Yeah,
how to
sure.
arrange stuffs. We also have the security working group that might be able to focus on the security. We have the open data group that is working on data.
Yeah.
But what I do see
Absolutely.
missing in what you have been mentioning here is privacy.
Privacy, yeah.
Or I think there's a term for it. I think it's PETs, privacy enhancing techniques. I'm probably throwing it back at you, thinking whether this would be something suitable. The BOF could be privacy enhancing techniques,
Yeah.
where we can look at applying privacy techniques on different domains. But then for each of these working groups that we already have, including the new one, we can have sub-working groups that focuses only on omics data.
Yeah,
So
that is a good
yeah, that's just
initiative.
a
Yeah, that
comment
is
I
a
wanted
good
to give.
comment. Yeah,
Thanks.
good suggestion. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just had a quick question. Like, so you told about like we can use blockchain for consent tracking and management, and you also talk about like there was some research in storing and analyzing a genome on the blockchain, right? So I was just thinking, if we are storing an actual genome on the blockchain, how does it align with GDPR? What if someone want to like do the right to be forgotten, like of his genome, right? Because we can't delete that from the blockchain; it's immutable.
Yeah, it is not
S-
changeable.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I don't think like it will be a good idea to like store the actual genome in the
Mm-hmm.
blockchain, but if it's just used for the consent tracking and management, that's
That's okay.
good.
You
Yeah.
mean it's
Yeah.
as a suggestion. Yeah, it's better to do the smart contract part on the top of blockchain. Yeah, that is better, you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have to think about that as well. But it's still there are some implementations of that sort of blockchain management with genome and proteomics data. I think that is also possible, but I don't know whether it's the best option or not.
I mean, it have to comply with GDPR. What if someone
Yeah,
want?
yeah, 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 yeah. That is there. We have to look at each and every regulation rule there and come up with the solution at the end. Thank you very much for the comment.
Thank you.
I think it also might be appropriate to change the name to human omics, because there's a whole lot of other like species omics stuff that's out there. Um, the kind of to pick up the point raised earlier, if it is in the blockchain, it's immutable, and pretty much that's giving it away to a minimum of 3 potential parties for verification of the chain. I think that really opens this up to being exploited in a really bad way. Once your data is there, you cannot ever take it away. I think the idea of using a consent mechanism would be a good idea, but that's going to have to tie into things like REMS and the Elixir beacon system, which advertises the location of a particular genome. We're also looking at what legislation can be enacted in terms of a dynamic consent process. That you may have consented back here, and later on you want to withdraw it. The other thing I think would be really critical to put into place is the legislative framework which actually controls access to this data. One of the ways we've been trying to deal with it in Australia is to provide a trusted research environment where a researcher, after cohort selection, only gets a subset of the genome data, not the complete genome. The other, sorry to be kind of putting downers on this, but the other side I see by putting it into blockchain is that blockchain it will grow exponentially based on adding more data into it. So the contractual side's probably the best place to look rather than the whole genome, and then have it pointed back to one of the repositories which has a data access committee which determines access onto that data. So the legislative stuff we're also worried about is that there's no protection from an insurance company now saying that when you signed up for insurance 40 years ago, you didn't disclose a potential disease that we can now determine based on a genome analysis, and that you and all of your descendants would then be precluded from insurance in eternity. So we're trying to work out a way that insurance companies can be held to account or cannot use the technology of doing a genome sequence analysis and then reapplying that retrospectively One of the cases we've looked at is, in the case of an insurance company that you've been paying for 40 years, you've been paying money into for 40 years, they could potentially ask you to completely repay all of that money. So, there's just a whole lot of complications around the commercialization side of the insurance and the privacy side as well. But I think it's a great idea to kind of start coming up with a framework that we can get our governments to evaluate and look at, and I think it's really going to have to go up to a government level.
It's kind of a long-term effort, I think, in the group. It should be.
Really good idea. We need to start looking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can get together and form the group first to do, start with that sort of initiative, forming the act first, and then we can move on with other funding and all the problems to solve, as you said, a long-term initiative as well. Any other question? Or not a question actually, suggestion maybe? You also have some concerns as a security expert. No, just ask. Yeah.
Interesting, might be working group or sub group as well, right? And the security is major concern for all organizations, right? And it's not only the medical data, it might be like some critical data, also very much important, right? And then another thing is like these days, especially in the South Asian regions, every organizations are like affected from the hacking and others data privacy things, and that's why like you also mentioned in the your slide as well, like especially in the health and security, HIPAA, and as IPPA HIPAA is the one of the like standard, we have to maintain based on that standards for the data security and privacy things, right? And the medical data is basically like from one location to another locations, it will like moving from the network. The data is stored in the some of the might be in the data center or their server, right? And how can we ensure that the the data will not be like miss, or there is no any integrity, no changes, right? It might be the some small value they can change, and based on that the doctor will give the like a advice to the patient. It might be very difficult for them. That's why is a major concern about the security from moving data from one location to another location. You also mentioned like data on transit and data on rest. That is also very important, but one of the like problem in data on rest is when you encrypt the data, it took a lot of time to like fetching. It might be impact for the performance as well, right? One side is the security, another side is for performance, right? Once the data cannot be fetched on time, it will be also difficult, right? We have to work on that. The solution is always there, right? But we have to work out, right? I think this one is a good initiative. Definitely we can work together and we can just like try to like do something. That means either it will be like a working group or sub group. That is fine. Actually, it's very good. Blockchains also very good part, right? And so where is like a distributed ledger, right? And it help us a lot, right? But we have to educate, or we have to like train. Okay, these are the best practices for the protecting medical data and the others data, other critical data. We have to analyze the data, and based on that we can also use. Okay, good.
Thank you very much for the comment. Any other comments? We can wind up as the time has already passed, right? Thank you very much for your actually for your comments and everything, questions as well.